Well, this may anger some folks.
Well, I'd say
Reviews where we jump into all things movies, TV, and anything else we can think of. I decided my first review was going to be Elvis. Clearly, this is not Elvis. I finally watched the new Superman movie, and that is what this review is going to be, Superman from 2025. And I had thoughts. Like I said on Facebook, if you saw that or you saw my TikTok, I have thoughts. And those thoughts are very dependent on understanding who Superman is to me and my relationship with the Superman character. Growing up, I was never a big Superman character or Superman fan. I gravitated towards Batman. I gravitated towards Spider-Man. After Iron Man came out, I gravitated towards Iron Man. It's not that Superman wasn't a great character. I don't know if it was lack of exposure or what, but I gravitated towards those other characters, not Superman. And when Batman versus Superman came out, I was very much on the Batman side. Not because of any messages in the movie, but because when I watched Man of Steel, I didn't super care for it. Does that mean it was bad? No. It has its people who love it. It has people who hate it. And just like this movie today. But I believe that they kind of suffocated the hope of Superman. Because that's what he is. That's what his symbol on his chest means. It's the symbol of hope on Krypton. And I think the Snyderverse kind of lost sight of that and just made him, I don't know, played too much into his God side and not enough of what makes Superman special compared to all of his villains, especially other Kryptonians like Zod or his own father or whoever. But growing up, like I said, I was never a huge Superman fan, but I got into Smallville through my buddy Dylan that I went to college with, and I realized I'd seen a lot of Smallville before, but I've never really watched Smallville, like sat down and took it in. So I decided to give it a chance because of the couple of episodes that I watched with him. I really enjoyed Michael Rosenbaum's, I hope I pronounce names right. I'm so bad with names, especially pronunciation. I've practiced several. Bear with me if I say I'm wrong. But Michael Rosenbaum's version of Lex really sucked me in. I liked his version of Lex. And turns out, once I sat down and watched it, I like pretty much every version of every character from the DC universe that appeared in Smallville. I prefer that version over any other version.
Your real parents weren't exactly from around here.
Where are they from? What are you trying to tell me, Dad? That I'm from another planet?
I got 100 on my dash, got 200 in my trunk.
So what are you? Man or Superman?
Name in the grab bags, put my Bible in the trunk. Taco vodka on the top of my binocular trunk.
I am Kal-El of Krypton. It is time to fulfill my destiny.
How can I make a popular? Pop when I want. See, I'm living with anxiety, ducking that sobriety.
always hold on to Smallville.
Fucking up the system, I ain't fucking with society. Justice ain't free, therefore justice ain't me. So I justify his name on the obituary.
Lex, the best Clark Kent and Superman, even though we didn't see very much, if any, of him as Superman technically. The best Lois Lane, the best. I think Chloe was made up for the TV show, but Lana, the best. Martha and Jonathan Kent. I mean, I could just go on and on and on. The only one I liked in DC media more was Aquaman. Much prefer Jason Momoa over the guy that plays him in Smallville. I know he's a big actor right now. I forgot to put his name in my notes, so With that being said, I still enjoyed this movie. Is David Gordon Sweat taking over Tom Welling's spot as my favorite Superman? No. He might. He could. I could see potential. The Lois in this, played by Rachel, again, I'm probably going to mispronounce her name. I am so sorry. I know she's not going to see this probably, but the people who are watching it are, and if you know how to pronounce her name, great. But her last name, Rachel Brosnahan, I'm probably butchering that. If you ask any of the kids that I sub for, I always butcher names. It's just the way it is. I don't do it on purpose. I've looked up pronunciations. I practice. Doesn't matter. I always butcher them. She's very close to being my favorite Lois. She's not quite beat out the Smallville Lois, but she's very close to Erica. She's very close. I think her and David Cornsweet have the best chance at beating my favorite versions of those characters. The Lex in this is my biggest hang-up. I love that actor. I hate what he did in this Superman movie. I didn't care for it. Hopefully he grows as far as the character. Hopefully the character grows and develops into more of a true Lex Luthor, because the version we got in this movie is the version everybody hated in Batman vs. Superman. Jesse Eisenberg's character is the same exact same exact Lex Luthor that we got in BVS. That's just the facts. Whiny, petulant, horrific man-child. That's not Lex Luthor, you know? And again, this is 3 years into Clark Kent's time as Superman. So Lex is young. I think that was supposed to be very evident by the castings and everything. They're all young, so they all have lots of room to grow. So does he have potential to grow? Absolutely. Has nothing on Michael Rosenbaum, and even has nothing on Gene Hackman. Or I would go so far as say Kevin Spacey. Those were much more aligned with the version of Lex Luthor from comics and animation. The other thing I didn't care for in this movie was the Pocket Universe. Is that a thing in the comics? Please tell me in the comments below. I know that there like different universes is a thing, you know, multiverse, all of that. But like the Pocket Universe thing, I don't know. It threw me off. I did not care for that. It actually slowed the movie down a lot for me. My wife too, she got very bored when it came to the Pocket Universe stuff. I will say to her opinion, the only parts of the movie she cared about included crypto. Got to save the baby. That's what she kept saying every time Clark was flying around in the Pocket Universe, but hadn't been able to get to crypto at the time after Lex Luthor kidnapped him and was experimenting on him before killing him. But I don't know, that whole segment just really slowed the movie down for me, and I didn't care. I'm glad, that they do what they did as far as him gaining another Justice member in the morphing man or something. I'm sorry. I clocked out a lot during that part of the movie. That's on me. I should have forced myself to pay more attention, and I probably will in the future. But anyways, that character ended up being very important. And I did like what they did with him, but unfortunately him going from working with Lex to protect his child to being friends with Superman, all of that just it's great. It was good in the movie. However, it was in a very I don't care portion of the movie. The big crux of this film is finding out what his true purpose was for the planet Earth and him being on Earth. At least his purpose coming from his own parents. You know, finding out that he was sent there to conquer and destroy if they don't bow to his will. Something Smallville touched on. Smallville touched on that in a big way. The Jonathan scene is almost word for word what it was like in Smallville. I know that he pulled a lot from Smallville, talking about James Gunn. I know James Gunn pulled a lot from Smallville, but I don't know. The whole time I was watching this movie, it's kind of like Friday Night Lights. While watching this movie, I wished I was watching Smallville. You know, that's, again, it's not this movie's fault, because this movie is vibrant. It's beautifully shot. It's so much fun. David Cornsweet was fantastic. It's just, I prefer the way Smallville handles these different situations that this movie tried to tackle. Is that because it's a TV show and Smallville had 10 years to kind of work these different things out? Probably. This is one movie that James Gunn has done so far. Technically, two, since I think he was behind the remake of Suicide Squad. I'm not going to get into that right now. But again, it's not this movie's fault that I prefer Smallville, and that that all the nods to Smallville and the story elements, again, were done more effectively in the show Smallville. But it's not the movie's fault, because that is the story of Superman. They're remaking everything, right? So you have to retell these story elements. They retell it better than Man of Steel was attempting to. I know Man of Steel didn't tackle that specific story, but Man of Steel did try to tackle, him being a god on Earth. And I feel like this movie handles it so much better. As far as a movie universe goes, we're not going to get Tom Welling as Superman. That's something I've accepted. And so I'm open arms to all other portrayals of those characters, because we'll never get them again in TV or movies. So with that being said, I did enjoy this movie. The Pocket Universe stuff was very slow for me. Despite that, like I said, vibrant, beautifully shot, really well acted by pretty much everybody. Again, my hang up with Lex is that he's too petulant, like Jesse Eisenberg. But again, I trust that they're going to grow that character, and he's going to become much more Lex Luthor than what we got in this movie. I see this movie as a very good starting off point for this new DC universe. Despite the certain story elements that I didn't care for, I still would rank this movie 4 Justice Gang members out of 5. And you should watch this movie. It's worth the time. Before I go, I do want to say, I know I left a lot out. I was trying not to really give too much away. I didn't give away who all the villains are. I didn't give away who, how they defeat everybody and all that. I even left out the fact that there is the Justice Gang. becomes the Justice League, I'm assuming that's something they're working up towards. But, you know, I didn't talk about any of those characters. They were kind of meh to me, so I left them out. Again, those are an element that I hope they expound upon in the correct way, and they don't just get, you know, too ahead of themselves like the last time they tried all this. So ultimately, 4 Justice Gang members out of 5, and it's a very good starting off point. I'm excited to see what they do going forward. Can't wait for the Batman casting announcement. I'm really, really interested to see what they do with Batman in relation to this universe that he's building. Go out there, be safe, and be blessed. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for joining me. Please go watch Superman in its entirety on HBO Max, or go out and buy it. Also, thank you for, if you've liked or subscribed, please, if you haven't, like and subscribe so I can continue to do this and be able to do it full time someday. Thank you, everyone. Be blessed.